So I used to run a door-to-door sales team, and when I was doing door-to-door sales, I learned about this phrase called flow state. Now, what does flow state actually mean? It means solely focusing in on one task at hand without thinking about anything else. You're in the zone, you're in flow, your mind is very present at what you're doing in the moment. That is flow state. Now, we use this term a lot when we were on the doors and someone was just going sale for sale for sale for sale. They were in flow state. Now, a couple months into leading my door-to-door sales team, my CEO paid for us to go to a training on neuro-linguistic programming. Now, for those of you who don't know what NLP is, essentially it's becoming aware of the way that your brain operates, the way that your brain's been programmed and conditioned, and adjusting it the way that you want, whether that's removing subconscious limiting beliefs, installing new habits, installing confidence, installing new beliefs to maximize your own performance. I was personally fascinated by this topic because I realized in that moment at that conference that everything in life is a byproduct of what's going on in your mind. And so if I could help my guys on my sales team manufacture this flow state, remove any of the bullshit getting in the way from them performing at a high level and install confidence into them, the sales would be a byproduct because they would be in flow, they'd be in the zone. And most of the time when you're in flow state, your performance is higher, your effort levels are higher, and you're more confident. And so therefore your outputs, your results are stronger and better. And so I was determined to figure out a way to manufacture flow state on command instead of waiting for it to kind of come and go. Because a lot of times, and what I personally experienced before figuring out about NLP was that I couldn't get into flow state some days. Like I would be in my head, I would, be worrying about external things. I couldn't focus on the task at hand. And initially, I blamed my ADHD, I blamed my perfectionism, I dealt with anxiety and depression. In fact, I was even taking medications for it when I was in 8th grade because I thought I had all these issues. I thought the reason why I couldn't get what I wanted was because there was something wrong with me. When realistically, I was misaligned, I had some limiting beliefs, and I wasn't in flow state. So today, we're gonna go over not only what is stopping you from getting into flow state, but also how to manufacture it and maintain it for long periods of time so you can actually maximize your performance. And whether it's in business, your job, college, your sport, anything in between, even your relationships, all of these tools are applicable for those situations and will help you not only maintain more mental clarity and more flow, but also more confidence and more enjoyment in what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. So before we actually dive into the framework, I would strongly recommend getting a pen and paper out and taking some notes or using this video like a guidebook and coming back to it multiple times because these frameworks are pretty deep and you're not going to be able to actually get this to stick if you're not implementing the work. And so if you don't plan on implementing, I'd recommend jumping off this video because it won't really serve you if you're not gonna take action once you're done. So before we talk about how to actually manufacture and maintain flow state, we have to talk about the things that usually get in the way of our flow, right? Of that mental clarity, of that peace of mind, of that high frequency state. And most of the time, it comes down to believing a lie, right? So for me, I used to just believe that I had ADHD, right? And I just would never be able to focus. I used to believe that I had anxiety and I'd never be peace of mind or calm and I'd never be able to handle high pressure situations, right? A lot of these times we believe these lies about ourselves based on our lived experiences and they structure the way that we go about our day to day. So let me give you an example. If you're 6 years old and you're forced to sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day and maybe your diet's not the best or maybe you're eating sugary foods at home, you're not gonna be able to focus, right? Just like when you're an adult and you're working a job you don't like. How are you supposed to focus when you're not actually enjoying what you're doing? It's naturally going to be hard for you to focus on something you don't want to do. And a lot of times we start blaming these things and self-diagnosing ourselves and taking all of these medications, when in reality, we don't actually need it. We're just not aligned with what we're supposed to be doing, right? Another good one is imposter syndrome. We think that we're not ready to take action, or we're not capable of doing the things that we're doing right now, or we're not worthy of what we currently have or the position we're currently in, right? Another one's perfectionism. We're worried about being perfect, or we aren't taking action until we have all the tools in place to make sure we don't fail because we're so afraid of failure, right? Another one's identity misalignment, right? If you're not actually locked in on your purpose, if you're not actually aligned with your authentic self and what you know deep down in your soul you should be doing with your life, that's gonna be an issue. It's gonna be hard to stay in flow state when you're not aligned with who you're supposed to be and what you actually wanna do with your life. And I have a full video on how to actually align with your authentic self and find your purpose. That's on my channel. But that is another big issue that I've seen and I've personally dealt with, right? And so all of these things are limiting beliefs, right? They are beliefs deeply installed into our brain that are dictating our day-to-day decisions, our day-to-day mindset, and the way we move around in life. And it affects us in our relationships, it affects us in our workspace, it affects us in every aspect of our life. And so the first thing you need to do before you can even try to get into flow state is remove all of your limiting beliefs, right? This is what I do with all of my clients. You have to remove your limiting beliefs. And a lot of times these were formed at a young age based on lived experiences you had as a kid, right? When your brain was the most neuroplastic, when your brain was in development mode. We go through these experiences, some good, some bad, but they dictate the way that we think for the rest of our lives until we become aware of them, we remove them, and we replace them with new beliefs. So once you remove your limiting beliefs, you have to close all of your mental loops. Now, Sam, what's a mental loop? A mental loop is excess energy in your subconscious mind that's being allocated or sent to things that you're not supposed to be worried about, or things you're not supposed to be focusing on, or things you should have done but haven't completed, or all these little micro tasks that you keep overlooking but you haven't done yet, right? They open all of these loops in our minds. And this is what happens when we fail to close our mental loops, right? So let's say we're trying to focus in on a high priority task, right? Like something you're actually passionate about, or some big project for your business, or some intense training for your sport, whatever it may be, right? You have this high priority task, right? That you're trying to focus on, you're trying to complete. But the thing is, you didn't text your mom back, you didn't clean your room or do the dishes, you have uncompleted micro tasks that you haven't finished from 2 days ago that you know you should have. You don't have a clear schedule in place, so you don't know what you're supposed to do later in the day. Your diet is bad, your sleep is bad, you're killing your dopamine receptors, or you're not exercising. Like all of these are open loops, right? And when we don't close them and we don't take care of them, they take away energy from this big task that we're trying to complete. So whenever you're trying to focus and you can't, or whenever you're dealing with anxiety randomly, right? You have that high cortisol, you're just stressing out for no reason. You feel like you have this brain fog, you can't focus, nothing's going your way. Even though you know exactly what you need to do, you still can't complete it. It's because you have a bunch of mini loops that are open, that are taking energy and mental space away from your main task at hand. So after you remove your limiting beliefs, you have to identify all of the loops that you have open, literally make a list of them, and slowly close all of these things. And a good way to do this is kind of auditing your habits, right? Like, are you sleeping enough? Are you eating clean foods that will support your body and your brain? Are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing in your free time that may kill your dopamine, right? What are all of the things that you're doing on a day-to-day that maybe you can replace with more important things? What's your schedule look like on a day-to-day? If I were to look at your schedule every single hour of the day for a week straight, how much time are you wasting, right? All of these things are questions that you should be asking yourself, and the very first things that you need to do before you can even consider manufacturing flow state on a day-to-day basis. I'll give you an example from my life. So I used to play video games every single day, eat junk food, like literally like a frozen pizza every single day, horrible habits, didn't exercise, didn't get sunlight, spent hours on my phone, and I felt depressed. I felt like I had anxiety. I felt like I couldn't do anything, right? And I thought I had ADHD. I thought I had this anxiety. I thought I had this depression. But my habits were shit. I had so many open loops due to my poor habits, and because I didn't take care of myself, it was affecting me when I was actually trying to do things I wanted to do, right? And so instead of understanding that, hey, I have all of these habits to adjust. I have a schedule that I need to make, and I have a bunch of loops to close. I thought there was something wrong with me when there was nothing wrong with me at all, right? All I needed to do was adjust my lifestyle, close my mental loops, and then I could actually operate at that higher level. Voila. I didn't have ADHD anymore. I didn't have depression anymore. I didn't have anxiety anymore because I was taking care of myself and I was aligned with my purpose. So I had no problem staying in flow state. So now that I've explained these two principles up here, let's go over how to actually manufacture the flow state, right? So the very first thing you need to do is dial in your health and dial in your habits, just like we talked about, right? You have to take care of your body and your mind in order for you to even have enough clarity to figure out what flow state looks for you, what you actually want to do, and how you're going to do it. So after you've dialed in your health and your habits, you have to design a plan of attack, right? What do you want to achieve? What's actually calling you in your soul, in your gut? One thing you'll always hear me talk about in my content is always following your gut, right? Your nervous system, your heart, your soul, some people call it the Holy Spirit, has this intuition where it knows what you need before your mind, right? Your mind's a survival tool. Your mind's always going to try to skew you off track. Always follow your gut. Your gut is based off of your subconscious mind, everything you've ever experienced. Your mind is what you're consciously thinking, right? It's what you think you should do as opposed to what your body is actually cueing you to do. So always follow your gut. And when you're designing your plan of attack, when you're designing like what you're going to do with your life, what you want to do with your life, your daily schedules, all of these things, follow your gut. Whatever comes to mind, whatever's calling you in your heart, probably the right thing you should do. Even if it's hard, even if it's scary, it will make you feel the most fulfilled. Whenever you don't follow your gut, whenever you're misaligned, whenever you're not in flow state, you don't feel fulfilled, regardless of the material success. I talked about it in my latest video, but it's like, you have to stay aligned. You have to be authentic. You have to follow your gut if you truly want to feel that fulfillment, because all of us have a purpose. And when we're not aligned with that purpose, we feel like shit, no matter how much material success we have. So once you've dialed in your health and habits, once you've designed your plan of attack, right? This is what I do with all my clients. List all of your open loops and close those motherfuckers, right? Make a list of all the things going on in your life, right? This can be anything. This can be calling your grandma. This can be scheduling a doctor's appointment. This can be forgiving your ex-girlfriend for cheating on you 3 fucking years ago, right? Like all of the things that are taking up mental space and distracting you from your big goal need to be put to rest. And the very first thing you need to do is take some time to write all of these things out, identify all of these things before you can go down the list and actually close them, right? So once you've closed your loops, you can identify all of the things that distract you, right? And your weak spots. Maybe that's like an environmental trigger. Like maybe instead of working at home, you should work at a coffee shop or a library. Maybe that's your phone. Maybe you need to get a screen time blocker. Maybe that's a certain time of the day you work better than other times of the day, right? Maybe it's like if you don't work out before you start your deep work, it's very hard to focus. Like you have to identify your weak spots and your distractions and list those out so you can adjust your plan accordingly to ensure that you're in flow state, right? And the last thing is manufacturing the actual flow. So realistically, as long as you're aligned with your purpose, as long as your health and habits are dialed in, as long as you actually have a plan of attack and a clear schedule of non-negotiables to do every single day. And I don't mean like try to do 25 things at once, right? Pick 3 to 5 things and put all of your effort into those, because when you try to do everything, you get nothing done. When you try to do everything, you get nothing done, right? But if you have all of these things in place and you know your weak points and you have like a prevention strategy in place, you will be in flow state. But some days you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, fuck this. Some days you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, yeah, not today. Right? And so you have to have a list of things that you can do to manufacture flow state in your life. So for me, house music, right? Sparkling water, maybe a little bit of caffeine, house music, get some sunlight. Maybe I'll get an extra workout in, go for a run or something, like maybe a cold plunge. Like all of these things are things that I genuinely enjoy doing that allow me to manufacture flow state when I have an off day. Because realistically, we're never gonna be perfect. You wanna aim for like 85 to 95% hit rate, right? But you're not gonna hit it all the time. And so you have to have some tools in place that you know work for you to help you manufacture the flow. Because the more you stay in flow state, the lower your cortisol will be, the more work you'll get done, the more confident you feel, and the more enjoyable your work will be, right? And I'm not joking when I say this either. Like, I couldn't focus for 1 to 2 hours in school or in college, right? Ever, without like Adderall. But now it's like I work 12 to 14 hour days sometimes on my computer, and the day will go by like that because I am so honed in, I'm so aligned, and I'm in fucking flow state. My cortisol, so fucking low. Like, I'm just zenning out. Like, you're literally manufacturing this zen. I want you to think about yourself like that little penguin from whatever Pixar or Disney movie that's like riding that huge ass wave, the chicken penguin, whatever. I don't know what the fuck that movie's called. I haven't actually watched it, but you want to be like that guy, right? You want to just be riding the wave. You don't want to worry about all the things you can't control. You don't want to worry about all the loops you haven't closed yet. You want to stay in the flow because that's when you get the most work done. That's when you feel the best about yourself. And that is when you are in the highest frequency zone, right? And so you're going to repeat this every single day, okay? Every single day, you're going to go through these things. You're going to have your health pillars. You're going to dial in your habits. You're going to have a good plan of attack, a schedule for the day, a schedule for the week, a schedule for the month, your non-negotiables. You're going to have goals in place to align you with your purpose and your authentic self, right? You're going to have a list of distractions and tools to prevent yourself from getting off track. And then on the tough days, you're going to manufacture the fucking flow state so you stay on fucking track. And make sure you come back to this video, right? Like, these frameworks on my YouTube channel are for you for free, but they only work if you actually do them consistently, right? So take some notes, take a screenshot, come back to the video, subscribe, or turn notifications on, right? Maybe even drop a like because that helps me out a lot and it's free for you to do. But come back to this video so you actually implement it. Share it with your friends, right? They may need this too. You may actually be able to help out a friend a lot by walking them through this framework or showing them on your own, right? Once you can actually implement this in your own life, all the people around you can also benefit because they'll be like, hey, you changed. You became a completely different person. What'd you do? And then you can help them. But if you need help with like removing your limiting beliefs, designing a custom system for your personality, or even some of the health and habits stuff, you can book a call with me down below. I'm more than happy to see if working together makes sense. But if not, like the video, subscribe, check in with me on Instagram. I got a ton of stuff that I'm posting every single day on there, and I will see you in the next video.